good afternoon. Today is going to be our 14th episode, and we're going to revisit the same topic that we revisited last um week, because last week we talked about the secrets we uncovered through channeling. And then as Krista and myself were talking, we realized that we couldn't cover a lot of things that we couldn't cover everything, right? Okay, I'm not too sure why all the volumes are turning up, even though I've turned off all the volumes. Technical issues again. So we're all good now. I hope I could hear everybody.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Okay, so joining me tonight is introduce yourself.
Hi, it's me, Sydney. I've been on quite a few of these lives so far. I am one of the channelers, and I'll channel with Teresa, with Annie, and a whole bunch of others who are part of our group here at Celestic Clinic. And yeah, just really great to be back after a little bit of a break we had while we were all traveling.
That's right.
Yes, and I'm Annie, directly from Germany, and I'm so happy to be part of this beautiful family team, and yeah, just enjoying the ride, and it's great to be back.
Actually now December, everybody's preparing for the winter, preparing for Christmas. I think we should do a Christmas series soon.
Yeah, do a
Yeah, that'll
Christmas
be fun.
episode. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we should check in on some of that. We should do some channeling related
Yeah,
to
the Christmas
wow.
spirit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's all about Christ. And yesterday, we were just watching. There's a few Netflix series that's coming up, like Mary, and then there's Passion and stuff like that. Like very all the themes around Christmas. But yes, for today, we're going to share a bit more of the things that we uncovered.
Secrets.
Yeah, a bit of the secrets through channeling. And boy, there are so many things that we have learned. So last week we talked a bit about our that those souls that are living inside us, which is our higher self, our ego, and our souls. And we talk a lot about the spirit guides and how they serve and guide us. So today we have got Sydney and Annie with new experiences, new cases that you've done, but you have also learned some interesting things through channeling. So I'm going to open to either Sydney or to Annie, if you can recall of any of those first, like, wow, I didn't know that.
First moments.
Yeah.
I had a first moment that was actually not part of a channeling session, but because I was new and I really wanted to try everything, we were having some sort of special moon. I think it was like a blue moon or something, when I decided to do this. But I was like, oh, since it's like the special occasion with the moon, I was like, I want to try channeling the moon. So I was doing that on my own with my partner, and he was the one who was basically, I was like, just ask me questions about stuff. Like, I'll try and get the moon and we'll see what happens, right? So we didn't have a plan, and the moon at that time ended up talking a lot about the relationship that it has with the earth energetically, and
Oh,
how it's related to kind of like the whole spiritual structure that earth has, and how that relates to being able to, create life on earth. And it's funny because, physically speaking, the moon is involved with creating tides, and that's very important. But then it was talking about how it sort of had this whole, like they had this whole thing where even when I think it was like the moon crashing into the earth, and it was like just describing all of this stuff related to how the sort of spiritual matrix, or like the like grid of the earth needed to be set up in this really specific way in order to create the sort of life experiences that are available on earth. And I was
Wow.
like, whoa, I was so blown away. I really didn't expect that when I was channeling the moon. I thought it would just be like, hello, nice to meet you. But it went down this whole rabbit hole and started talking about like missing the earth and missing being like materially together and all of this stuff. Yeah, I was like very, very, very surprised when I did that.
Wow, that's interesting. I wish you recorded that, and that
Yeah,
was a
I know,
good
right?
reference
We just did it
to it.
like for fun.
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. What about
Yes.
anything that you first discovered through channeling that
One of the secrets, I always thought, well, maybe it was a judgment. I always thought that people, if you have a gift, if you're a channeler, it's going to happen very soon in early life. And I find out you might feel it, you might sense it, but if you don't have like an experiences, then if you over something, you're screwed. Sorry to say that. But what happened is like I had my first reminder, let's call it a gently reminder, was with Archangel Metatron that literally took my lips. I think I already told or revealed that story in third episode. And it literally used my lips to say, and the word that came out was Metatron. I was like, who's that? And I was not aware about like all this angelic realm, realm, but I started to be, really curious and really wanted to know a little bit more. And then I got a session with you, Teresa, and one person that came up was Ascended Master Lord Kamara, and it's like it reminded me, like, hello, you're one of us, like you should be part of my team. So it's like just reminding you should be there. And I was already almost on, my 50-ish years. So one of my secret for me that was revealed is like it's not that it's never too late. It's not specifically at a certain time of your, just when you're born with it. I think we all have it. It's just like the culminant point that it is coming is this is it could be later. And if you feel the calling or you always felt there was something in you, like, well,
so for
maybe if you
you,
feel it, you call it.
so
You
for
come
you,
to us.
your
Yes.
discovery that you learned through channeling was that you are a channeler. That is your
I'm
discovery.
channeler, and I was
Yeah,
born channeler, but it's
yeah,
like I didn't know what to do with it or like how
yeah,
to use it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that's really good. So it set you back on track. Like this
Yes,
is how you have served and made such a big difference to so many people's life. And
but for my own life too.
oh
Yes.
yes. Yeah, I think all of us could share that when we have stepped in and decided to go, we're going to accept this role where it is so niche, unique, different, and our approach to healing obviously is very different. It really changed our life. And I can't begin to share about the number of lives that have changed.
Hmm.
Especially children who are naturally born with the gift of channeling, and when they allow and accept how it changed their life so much, rather than trying to pretend that it never happened. Like if they're able to see things, sense things, hear things that other people can't, it's so easy to say that I'm hallucinating, something's wrong with me, or get dismissed with that. So yeah, I think channeling as a unique gift is so hard for people to pinpoint to say, I think you're a channeler. It's so
Hmm.
hard, versus like, oh, I think you're a singer, or I think you're a musician, or I think you're an artist, or I think you're a mathematician, versus like, I think you're a channeler. I'm like, what? So I have other things myself that I have discovered through channeling quite a bit, right? I mean, naturally, when I first started this journey, before I was able to start teaching it, um, I was so curious and I asked a lot of very basic questions. And I remembered one time I wanted to ask about soul families, like how does soul families come together and what purpose do they serve? And then the channeler Puva um picked up a boatman. And I'm like, okay. Um, that's when I learned that boatmen are also known as angels, but they have only one single function. And boatman's function is to ferry the souls from one point to another point, right? So, but in the whole universe, and that's where through the boatman, I learned so much about the universe. I mean, okay, maybe let's call it the administration court for the souls, right? So
Very true.
we never really understood about the administration courts about the soul, but the boatman came and he said, "Oh, you called and you wanted to learn more about the soul family." And honestly, I can't remember too much about what he shared. But basically, soul families have agreed to serve together, like serve certain purpose together, serve each other, and that they function as one unit with similar traits, similar interests. They may not be born in the same biological family, but as a soul family, it could be like you are a soul family of doctors, or who I mean like healers, who are there to make a difference to people's life as healers, like us. We're a soul family, right? Or is that a heart? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So basically soul families come together to serve a purpose, a agreed purpose, how they will work as a team together. So then as I was probing more information from him, and that's when he go, "Ma'am, I'm just a boatman."
Like, I don't know that much.
Yeah,
Calm down.
that's when I learned that, okay, and that's when I got curious and I go, what's your role? I thought you're an angel and you know everything, right? And he's like, "No, I'm a boatman. I'm an angel technically, but I'm boatman. And my job is to gather souls and to ship them to their destination." And that's when I got curious, right? Then I go, "Do they meet you at like a bus stop? Or do you go to every stop to pick them up?" Then I say, "Yeah, they will gather at one stop and then I will go pick them up at that one stop." I was like, okay, that's interesting. So he will pick like souls that are ready to be reincarnated to after they've gone through the process of the administration, right? And then send them to their next destination, or pick up the souls who have decided that my life on earth or anywhere else is expired and I want to, journey on to other experiences. So that was the first time I actually had a chat with boatmen. So going forward from there, as both of you know, that when we do a lot of work, the boatmen come to support us and help us, especially when we need to bring souls to the light. And they are so extremely helpful. So that's one of those where I go, I'm so grateful to know that the boatmen are so readily there, available to support us and help us.
But it's interesting. You said they pick the souls up from specific stops. So I feel like that explains a lot of the times when we find like random lost ones and it's like, why didn't you pick this guy up? And it's like he didn't go to
At
the
a
stop.
stop. He missed the stop. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Was there other things that you both have like subsequently doing so many cases and start learning and discovering?
Well, I mean, with what Annie said about like, her mouth forming the words, I definitely had those experiences, especially early on. Now, not so much because it feels like I can just get the prompt and like start talking. But initially, it really did feel like they were like, come on, make the shape, make the sound of my name, do it, right? And I
Yeah.
had that experience with Commander Ashta the first time he came through,
Mhm.
where I don't remember what case we were working on, but I was working with you, Teresa, and you're like, okay, like bring forward whoever's there. And I'm like, I don't know who's here. I don't know what they're called. I don't know who to like.
Oh,
Ooh, she's frozen. But that's okay. I think Annie, you had a experience with Commander Ashta as well.
yes, but I was already introduced thanks to Sydney before.
Oh,
But yes, uh, I think he, I think, I don't know. There's some. It's not that I'm not open for it, but sometimes we connect maybe easily with specific or not always the same. But like specific energies, let's call it, or
Frequencies.
while Sydney is coming back, I might recall one experience, and it was like to know that, you know, we know about Akashic records, and when we have met this person who was in charge of the Akashic records too,
Yeah, Lady
and
Diana.
yeah, so it was like Lady Diana was like, to my surprise, like, okay, I always imagine myself like a chic record is like a place, you know, like it's a structure, but to know that there was a person in responsible
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
environment, that was also a surprise. Like, okay, it's like so when
Yeah,
Lady Diana
actually,
is there.
yeah, Lady Diana as the keeper of the Akashic records, she was introduced to me by Commander Ashta. So it was the beginning of my channeling experience working with channelers. And of course, I was very curious and asked a lot of, basic questions or questions that I'm like, wow, just bombing questions, right? Or whoever is willing to talk. And Commander Ashta was like, I can introduce you my friend and I'll bring her here next time. And that's Lady Diana. And I was like, wow, you mean Akasha record actually is guarded by Lady Diana. But of course, I'm not talking about the Princess Diana. This is a different name. It's just that she's called
Yeah,
Diana.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You might have.
I need to
I know what you
clarify
mean.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
So that was pretty interesting to see that Lady Diana was in charge. So it facilitate now that we know a little bit more names or recognizing the energy. Sometimes it's easy to go to. We're developing these networks as we are discovering.
mm,
Uh, Yes, new team workers, I would say, or collaborators.
yeah.
But yeah, really.
So it's amazing. And I actually want to continue to share a bit more about our soul journeys that I discovered through channeling.
Mm,
So in one of the sessions that I was working with Tess, one of our channelers as well, but she first came to me for a hypno session. But because she's a channeler, anybody who's a channeler and they come to me for a hypnotherapy session, it's so easy for them to start channeling. So this is a story of how she came to me and she wanted to look into a case where why she had difficulty doing presentation. Welcome back, Sydney. I'm just
Hi.
continuing a story. We'll pick up from your experience later. I'll just finish my story.
Yes.
So this is the case where she came to me where she felt that how come I couldn't do proper presentation, talking to strangers, standing up, introducing myself is no problem, but why is there so much challenges in doing presentation? And then when I took her into hypnotic state and then she started bringing up a past life with that specific issue.
mhm,
She was a very successful teacher in one of the planets. And then after she passed on, she was then told to reincarnate on Earth. And she was protesting with the administration. And that's when I learned, oh, there's such thing as an administration of our souls, right? And she was protesting. And she was telling the admins, you made a mistake. I'm not from Earth. I don't speak Earth language. I do not know the culture of Earth. I do not know how to be human. You're making a mistake, right? And she was pretty firm about it, but it was too late. The administration has already like, you are going to Earth. You're going to Earth and you're going to go there and share your wisdom of all your previous life experiences on Earth. And she was so upset and so disappointed, right? So when she was born in this life, that conversation stayed in her head, even though it is veiled, right? Because when we come to Earth, a lot of things has been veiled. But the impression is she do not know Earth culture. She has never been a human before. She does not speak the language here. Nobody's going to understand her. So she is going to be bad at presenting, talking, communicating. And therefore, when we uncovered that, where she's angry with the administration, I have to tell her that the admins don't make mistake. So you have to go through some level of acceptance. And so reluctantly she go, I guess I have no choice now, right? And I go, yep. And that absolutely removed her fear and moved on to a level of acceptance. But the important part for me was like, there's actually an admin. And and then this admin has then decided, like, after we agreeing what's life experiences we want and all that, so there's the administration who then appoint you and send you off, right? Sign off. I said, okay, that's it. This is your life for the next 60 years or 80 years or 100 years. So I thought that was interesting. But subsequently, I did learn that the administration probably is not perfect. That there were some incidences that we discovered that was caused by the administration.
Wow.
Yeah. Why?
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Oh, well, I'm a bit shocked.
Well,
Because I think everything's perfect, like I imagine that everything is, I need to accept that, to accept that it's not perfect on the other side of this. And so that means also, so the administration, are you talking about from Akashic Record or the administration from which part? I'd like to know.
after you
Okay.
choose to be like come back for Earth experience or go to other planets for other experiences, that's the admin who then decide, okay, boatman, pick them up from here to send them here. So the admin will be the ones giving the boatmans the instructions, right? So then the boatmans will not differ from those instructions of sending you off to certain location. So I did find another incident that the admin did that I thought like, oh my God, right? Like, how did that happen? So this was a case of this very brilliant soul. So bright, so bright. And this soul was very curious about being human and wants to be human. But because it's such a bright soul, somehow, a misguided admin told this brilliant, bright soul that you are so bright and so immensely huge, bright, that you are not going to be able to have a full human experience without hurting this body, the human body. And so therefore, recommendation is that you split yourself into 1,000 light so that the body will be able to accept your brilliance. And this bright, beautiful soul, given that is naive in the sense because it has never been human, listened to the consult and split itself into 1,000 lights, 1,000 pieces of soul fragments. And this is the case that came to me where she has always felt incomplete and she always felt that something about her is missing. And she always felt like she is not fully present and she cannot function as a complete whole. And she's very disturbed by it because she don't think that she's crazy or like there is a case for mental wellness because she's functioning well, but she just kept feeling that it's a piece of her that's missing. And I went back to trace with the admin, like what has happened. Why is it that when we went in to look and talk to her soul, we realized that she has 1,000 pieces scattered all over different timelines, different dimensions, different universes, and different galaxies. So what this means is that for us to piece back the soul is going to take a long, long, long time. So that's one of the other incidences that I discovered that happened at the admin level.
I think I remember that.
Were you the one who channeled that?
I don't remember if I did or if I overheard you talking about it, but it sounds so familiar. Like I remember this thing of like pieces everywhere and how it would take a long time. The reason behind that and why we couldn't just instantly do that is because all of these different pieces have their own things going on right now.
That's right. Correct.
So it's like as much as they would like to all get back together, even if we informed all of them like, hey, you guys can get back together. Actually, you didn't have to do this in the first place. Now they have different contracts that they're dealing with and different experiences that they've signed up for. So it's like, all right, now we need to work through all of those first and then not sign up for anything else except getting back together. And
Correct. So I
yeah.
actually have to put in a agreement with each and every one of them. So one of the things that a lot of people probably know or probably don't know, that part of the Akashic record is like a tapestry. And as each of us go through our life is weaved into the threads of the tapestry. And in the tapestry, it continues based on the contract, whether you have children, whether you have experiences, whether you needed to come back to learn this again, the tapestry would just continue on and on and on and on. So for this piece of soul, I have to inform all the different weavers because she has like thousands different pieces all over the dimensions, different timelines, and all that. There had to be an agreement with the weavers that they will not continue after weaving this life. So then the journey is to weave back another continuation of the soul. So just imagine like this piece of cloth suddenly had thousands phrase, right? Phrase and some phrase of threads. And each of these threads are going on to form other tapestry. And the weavers then have to try, like, do not continue another life and not continue on this crazy mess of weaving, but need to weave them back together again to that one piece of brilliant soul. Yeah, so that was one of the other incidents that was discovered.
It will be a beautiful artwork.
Yeah, but it's going to take a very long time.
Really? It could
Because
be.
because it's over many different time zones, timelines, different dimensions, different galaxies. And they're not just human. They have embarked on thousands of different experiences. So
I'm hearing something right now. I don't know who's speaking or whatever, if I want to share.
Bring them on.
Yeah.
You might reconsider the words you are choosing. I'm not saying that, by the way.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought
Who's this though?
sounds a little bit.
Who's this?
I'm the tapestry from the Akashic Records.
Hello.
That's how you called me, didn't you?
Yes.
If everything is connected, everything is wired together, everything leads to something else, but also can reconnect. Everything is wired, everything can reconnect. You might see the solution not with your human eyes, but your energetical one. And when you see energy, light attracts light and darkness attracts darkness. You see the difference. You might want to reconsider the way you see and your perspective of the situation. Think about a magnet that recalls the soul original blueprint. Therefore, thank you.
The tapestry didn't really offer a alternative solution.
No, I don't really think it's a solution necessary.
But it's basically saying that it will be able to come back together because of the like attracting the like, right? I do agree with that because eventually we want them to come back together.
What I'm picking up and what I understood and what I saw from the images is that it's not just a 2D form, it's really like multiple dimensional. So, and that's why they are connected, they are feeling together, but it's also, I'm hearing also there are, what makes it complicated is that they have also free will.
Yes, that is correct. Yes. That was also
So,
one of the reasons why it was so difficult to say how we're gonna piece back the soul together, because they have free will and each of those different pieces have continued on with their soul contracts, soul agreements, and all the other things that they have committed to complete. And that's why it's going to be so difficult at this moment to just say, stop everything, come back. It doesn't happen that way.
but
Yeah.
I could see there was like a merging, molding, like it's going, I cannot, it's like liquidy energy. And it was like, and I was seeing that there was like the mother,
So,
the original, yeah, the
yeah.
blueprint, recalling and like calling the babies or calling the children. And, you know, of course, it's a free will, but it's like, it felt like it was possible.
I think
And
from the tapestry, they are
yes.
together because they are from one piece, right? The
Mm-hmm.
tapestry is together. But the problem that we were trying to solve is so that this soul that was experiencing such fragment, that it is complete, that cannot happen as each of the different parts of the soul continues on with another life, another commitment, and all that. So then that was that agreement that it needed to come back to the original soul eventually, because they will just feel incomplete. So just imagine, like, when you're functioning, that there is that piece of hand working on something else somewhere and your leg is doing something else somewhere. You're just like, I'm not complete. Something else is taking on their own mind and doing their own things. So that was more of what we were trying to solve. Not really we were not trying to solve the tapestry, but the tapestry will be able to help us solve in piecing this soul back together. But thanks for the tapestry coming out to speak. It was so lovely to hear it. Thank you, Annie. It was beautiful.
By the way, I can recall that before Sydney appeared in my life, that would have been the channeler accompanying me or my partner in the channeling first course that I attended to. So I never met this soul, I never met this person. I don't know who he or she is, but I remember I'm waiting for this person, but then you said it's going to take a longer time. I cannot start the course now. It's like, damn.
Yeah, and then Sydney appeared.
Yeah, that's pretty wild too, because you know, when we started together, Annie, we'd already met years before.
We did?
Yeah.
Yes.
All in Estonia?
It was in Barcelona in the first yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
we all just met separately but together years and years before we start channeling together. And then
Isn't
we
it funny?
just
It's part of the soul family.
synchronistically meet up again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just so cool.
And then what are the secrets that you felt that you have uncovered when you are actually working on cases?
I think for me, since we talked about souls, a big one is that every single soul is really, really beautiful and feels really, really good. And you know, this was something where prior to doing this kind of stuff, I would always like, there's this like fear when people say they do this kind of stuff where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to see like all of my like it feels like invading my privacy, you know. I don't know what you're gonna see there. I don't know how you're gonna find it. Like, what if you tell me I have some like secret horrible thing inside of me? But yeah, through all of the like myriads of clients that we've taken on and people that we've looked at, it's like, yes, people have their issues and stuff, but ultimately, the deeper we dig, the more beautiful it's very clear every single soul is. You know, if they're presenting to us with their fears and with their anger or whatever it might be, initially it can be uncomfortable, but that's not really the depths of what we're looking at. It's like the more we dig in, the more it's like, wow,
Yeah.
you're really beautiful. You're very lovable, every single soul, every single person. And I think that was
Mhm.
very comforting for me as well, you know.
Yeah, that I do agree. And I actually do find that one of the misconceptions that we often have is that the moment we transit to a soul form, right? Like, when we leave the body and transit and to become a soul, there is that misconception that everything is going to be perfect,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Then we learn that it's not, that souls themselves have to go through some level of introducing different perspective to them. So like let's just say if we find a soul who they felt that they have been betrayed or they have been lied to, and then they have not forgiven what has happened to them, and they passed on, they transit to become a soul, they will still have that perspective. They wouldn't have that bigger perspective, right? So I remember there was this case where this guy was killed by his own best friend, and he never was able to forgive, and he always felt that he can never ever trust again, right? And then we had to bring on the best friend to explain that if I didn't kill you, my whole family will be killed.
Mm.
I remember that.
Right? And the best friend said, I'm really sorry to have to do this, but it is sacrificing one of one person I love versus my whole family of another five people die. And knowing this experience, this best friend said that, yeah, I'm willing to have made this sacrifice for you. So, but that's what I mean, right? You seem to think that when we transit to a soul, we will have all perspective and understand all things, and therefore everything is going to be good. But it's not.
Yeah.
And therefore, when we step in and support them, we bring those pieces back for them to bring that perspective for them so that there's a lot more peace and acceptance so that they can transit and then take on a new adventure, a new life without that burden that I cannot trust my best friend again, or I cannot trust anybody, or I will be betrayed. All that kind of belief system that continues to stay in the soul and get carried on to the person. And just imagine then every other life, if we did not step into to heal that perspective, then every other life that they're going to carry on, it is so hard to move out from that because they can't even remember the root of why they don't trust. They can't
Yeah.
remember the root of why they just don't want to be close to anybody ever again.
I think that one is so interesting because when when we look at like past life healing, I think that matches really nicely because it's not like you finish one life experience and then you're like, oh, I understand. I integrate everything about this experience. I get it now. All right, on to the next one. It's like, no, we don't actually have that. And a lot of the times we end up sticking with whatever our specific understanding and perspective was, whatever that happened to be. And I remember actually one specific case we did with a woman where we were trying to figure out like the root of I don't remember what she came to us with. I just remember that we found like the root of it was past life experiences like with her and with other family members and everything that was like millions of years old. Where it wasn't just like, oh, I had a few lifetimes. It was like, no, I've had so many. I've basically been entire like, civilizations worth of people, and it's all like interrelated, this sort of like root situation or root belief. It was like carried on like again and again and again and again and again, and again like millions of times. And the experience of channeling that was really interesting. It was like, this vast sense of time, and then it's this tangle of stuff, like a big storm or like having a bunch of wires, and you just cannot figure out how to untangle it. But in the end, we did, and I just thought that was such a cool thing to see, and really like how we can really end up perpetuating and sticking with things that we're not able to process.
Yeah, and it just continues on and on.
Wow. I was not there, but sounds pretty cool.
It
Any,
was.
you did quite a few cases with me. Anything that stuck to your mind that you go, well, I didn't know that.
Interesting. Oh, the boatman, the monkey.
Oh.
Um, um, there's so many things where to start. There's
Right.
nothing that particularly, but yeah, but it's mostly uh how the energy works sometimes, how everything shifts also. That the consciousness, like you said it earlier, the consciousness, how it turns out in different as a roles, I would say, or it shows up and it could be, a bird, or it's an emotion, or I'm a stone, or I'm a, like that shows up. But if it translates literally this
Yeah.
wisdom, or and also the consciousness wants to help us. That was like also a very big surprise for me, like and feeling also that we're not alone, like yeah, we help, but we're
Mm.
helped too. And then
Yeah.
Yeah.
that that's where I'm always amazed, and where I feel safe also.
I like
Like
to
we
add
talk.
to that. I like to add to that because like this consciousness, right? It's actually channeling class level 2. Because like channeling class level 1 is where we learn about things that is closer to us, where we learn about souls, we learn about ascended masters and all that, right? And until you as a channeler you get very comfortable channeling all these beings that you could know that they are actual being who's able to speak, then we move on to channel consciousness and essence of the consciousness and emotions, right? But both of you are so advanced, you are able to achieve all that during like level 1, right? So it's like I never asked for
Mhm.
both of you to do level 2 because you're already way beyond that. But I want to expand about that consciousness. So for the audience, when we're referring to the consciousness, is actually the consciousness of that embodies as embodied in inanimate things. So, for example, the consciousness of this house, or the soul or the spirit of this house, right? They do have an opinion. They do have a thought, and they are observing, right? And even like the mug that I've been using, right?
Right.
Or the car or the broom. Or I remember when I was younger, and then like if I have a broom, I'll be using like to ride it like a horse, or I'll be using it to do other strange things with the broom. And then my dad would be like, do not offend the spirit of the broom. Then I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, the spirit of the broom is to serve as a broom. Please do not use it
I'm
to
pretty
ride
sure the broom is happy to be used as a
to try
horse.
something
So
else.
many brooms are used as horses when
Yeah.
kids are little.
Like oh the broom that flies, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So at the
Broom's
time,
fine. It's chill.
like it's quite interesting that there is, the elders would talk about that. Then
Mhm.
until we started channeling, and then they actually do show up. And I have worked with them to try and discover a few things when we are navigating, investigating, and solving cases. But I remembered one of the first experiences. This was for the level 2 students when they were, doing it in this room. And I said, I want you to channel the consciousness of this house. And I remembered Maybelline was the one who channeled, and she was like, the house, right? He said, oh, I really love um, being the spirit and the host of this house. And I was like, oh, okay. That he's like, this is the Violet Ray's house. And I mean, at the time I've forgotten that I've invited Violet Ray to put a nice grid around this house so that the channeling, the frequency of this house is actually a lot more at the level where it's easy to get into the frequency of channeling rather than you have to go and tune yourself into the channeling. When you come into this house, you're naturally in that frequency, right? And of course, what that means is that the guides or whoever wants to drop in is very easy to drop in because the violet rays grid is wide and is everywhere in different galaxies and all over. And one thing that this house said, I just said that, oh, I really love it. There's so many guests coming in. I was like, I don't have that many guests. Is it? No, the angels, the star nations. Yeah, this is like a pub for them. I'm like,
It's true.
okay. So like whatever I'm doing, somebody is or something is here because they have dropped in to,
Hang out.
So that's one of the things that the consciousness, they do speak and they do share and they do what they do is that they can impose certain I guess energy around it. So I remembered one case that we were given. The house was very difficult to sell, right? And then we tuned in, and then the house is like, I'm reluctant to let go of this family. I really love this family. I don't want to leave and see this family go. And then the house is like, what have I done wrong? Why did they want to leave me? I was like, what? But yeah, so there is a consciousness of inanimate things. But thanks for bringing that up, Annie, because I think both you and Sydney were one of the first who brought on the consciousness of the emotions that's being harbored inside the person, right?
Yeah, that just sort of happened naturally. And it's so cool that Annie brought all this up because I was literally just thinking about it as she was beginning to speak. And I was just like, hey, yes, connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the experience? Do you want to share?
Oh my goodness. I think initially like the first few emotions that came up were pretty intense ones. Where it was like the sadness of something or the anger, and then it would explain like what was creating its existence. And then as well as that, beyond just like inanimate objects or a person's specific emotions, I think the biggest thing or the secret, right, that we've discovered through channeling is that we can basically channel any specific thing, and it could be layer upon layer of something, right? Where it's like, we could say channel the house, but the house is also part of a town, which we can channel, and the house has objects inside of it, which we can also channel. You can channel a specific blade of grass, or you could channel the whole field, or one tree, or like all the trees in the forest, and each of them have their own like different nuance to them. And early on for me, it was like secrets showed up. Someone's secrets showed up to present themselves to us and to say like this is the big thing that I am, like I exist because of this experience. And yeah, I think the only thing that we really, not to say that we can't channel, but we have limited access to is just channeling everything at once, where there is no more perspective and everything is one, because then there's no more specific message to actually explain about. So typically it's a really easy sign for us, like if we have a being come forward and say, I am God, right? Like I am everything, not like an aspect of God, not like a specific voice, but just like everything all at once coming in. That's usually when we also know that maybe someone's being a little cheeky and not actually saying who they are.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other things that caught me by surprise too is channeling God, because you brought that up.
Yeah.
Right? I remembered when God first showed up in the channeling, the energy in this room was so strong. There was so much static, electricity, the lights was blinking, and like just like, okay, the energy was too strong that really the channeler who brought it through was Crystal, and she was only able to bring through like maybe a decimal of God.
Yeah.
But two things that shocked me about God. But it shouldn't shock me, actually, mistake. It's not that it shocked me, but that to have it articulated was like, oh yeah, like Why didn't it occur, right? So one of the things that that when Crystal was channeling is how genderless God is. It is so easy to reference God as a he, right? But when she is channeling the energy, she really could feel the switch when it's more feminine or when it's more masculine. She can actually literally feel the switch. And it's quite interesting if you read the book Conversations with God.
Yeah, they do the switching as well.
He also talked about the switching, right? But I can tell you that Crystal didn't read the book, so she was not influenced by
Goosebumps. Okay.
And the other thing that I learned, and people may be disappointed with what I'm going to say next, and it's this: God is neutral. And what do I mean by this? Right? Like we pray, God, help me win this. Like I go for a badminton match.
Help me study.
Oh yeah, help me study, or help me
Right,
do
kids
this,
do
help me
that.
score number one, help me be, help me be number one in the exams or something. And I pray to God, I pray really hard, right? God is neutral. But who is answering the prayers? Is actually your guide.
Yeah, I'm like, your guides are the ones who want you to like have specific stuff. Who
They
can be
can
like,
take
hey,
sides,
guides, I'd
right?
really
They can
like.
take sides, but God
Yeah.
can't take sides. God is neutral, right? And sometimes there's some other ascended masters, who's rooting for you, who knows that the success is going to make a difference to your life. Yeah. So this was what I discovered about when we channel God. I was like, whoa, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, really go when it's articulated. Yeah.
It feels like it's so God's energy is so difficult maybe to embody and express it, that I think that God had, since it's neutral, like decided to make it easier and to short down the gears, or maybe the frequency, so we can capture or maybe understand a little bit more. So, or he has hired many facilitators, and this help us to
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool, actually. Thank God.
Yeah. And then in that spirit of all that, there's also Annie. I remember you were the first one who brought through the Holy Spirit.
Me? No.
Yes, you're the one who first channeled the Holy Spirit, and
I'm
who
surprised.
sometimes also refer to itself as the Holy Fire.
The
Yeah.
Holy Fire, wasn't it like, I was sure it was Crystal, or wasn't it Maybelline?
No, I remembered it was you with the Holy Spirit.
Okay. It was really strong. I remember it's like it didn't feel, sometimes when we channel, it feels like around here, it feels like in the body. Sometimes I feel in the gut, and it transmutes into words. But it was like I could really feel it was on the outside, like in front of me, like outer space. And I felt like I'm connected, really lift up. But yeah, that was also a big surprise. And I was like, the part of my ego is like, am I you sure about this? Are you making this up? Like, I'm just gonna honor what's happening. I'll see you later. I'll just take a break.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Yeah.
like
So
me, you sure?
that's when I first learned that what we can use the Holy Fire or the Holy Spirit to do in the work of healing. And honestly, the way we do the healing, there's so many of them who wants to come through to help and support with their own specialty. And that's what I find it to be such a blessing that we have this whole team to collaborate with. And every time when we go in to look at a case, right? And we're like, okay, who is nearby to help? Or who can step in? Or like sometimes when we are out of solution, who can come up with a solution to help us address this, solve this, look into this? And that's what I feel like this work that we do is really a big teamwork. So many families of the Star Nations and the Ascended Masters and then the angelic celestial realms all stepping in to support us, to help us. Yeah.
To my surprise, also the dragons and
Oh,
also
the
the
Yeah.
unicorns and the fairies, like, what? And like, I'm a fairy. Really?
yeah, absolutely. And they bring in their beautiful, gentle energies, and you just really love that they're all here to help. And this is where I would also be a bit controversial. We talk about all those people who come in to support us and help us. There's a few things that sometimes, as I meant, I often teach, like when we do channeling, it is so important that we don't judge. Everything is created by God in this universe, right? So it is important that we don't come through with some level of judgment. And I remember that sometimes when there's some work that we need to do, and it has to be solved by energies that are a bit more controversial.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it.
Right? And I really want to highlight about Beelzebub, where he comes in to support us and help us in certain things that we can't solve. Because sometimes when we have to deal with more difficult energies, right? And the angels are too bright and the frequencies are too high to go solve that problem.
Yeah, it's like we need a local. We need the
Yeah.
local guide, right?
Yeah, somebody who knows what they are thinking. And I can share one of this case. I'm not too sure if any of you were working on this case with me. This is a client where she was in military and she was in a secret op of the military, and something happened to her that by the time they found her body, she was very botched up. And the family really wanted to see and talk to her soul to understand whether what they can do for her to help her live through this challenge. So we talked to the soul, and the soul was like, yeah, she's really in so much pain and she couldn't breathe, and she was really botched up. It was a military secret mission. And after talking to her and got all the healing done for her, the guides were not very confident that her body is going to survive through this. And so in the middle of the night, when we were not expecting her to die, she died. She flatlined. But just before she flatlined, she uttered certain language and words that nobody understood. I will highlight that this case is actually a case in Southeast Asia. So anyway, the boyfriend sent me what she said and said that nobody understood what she just said. But after she said this, she flatlined and died. So the doctors came in and recorded her time of death, and she was dead for 10 minutes. So usually nobody comes back after 10 minutes. She came back. She came back after 10 minutes. And she started breathing again. Her heart stopped pumping, but she was still unconscious. So that's when the family just quickly contacted me and said, could you look into this again and tell us what happened? And so what happened was, when I was talking to the soul was like, I broke free. I came back. It wasn't my time. I was not ready to go. And I was like, what exactly was she talking about? And that's when I think, if I remember correctly, this was the case where Beelzebub stepped in together with Jesus.
Oh.
Interesting combo.
Yeah,
Wow.
if I remember correctly. So what happened was that this soul, in one of her previous life, their village prayed or worshipped, maybe the shadows is the word to call them, but they are of a more darker energies, the shadows. And one of the agreement for this village is that the shadows will serve you and help you this life, but when you die and transition, your soul belongs to them. So she was from this village, and everybody's soul in this village was promised to the shadows, because the shadows need these energies to continue their existence, to take the light to exist. But halfway through her belief and worship of these worship of these shadows, she somehow was introduced to the Christianity, and she therefore, her soul was then promised to the light. But the shadows did not forget. And that's when the shadows saw that in this life she was unaware, and she's probably without a religion this life, and that it was time for them to claim what belonged to them. So she fought back, so she was able to come back 10 minutes later and be alive. And that's why she uttered those words that was the ancient language of that village. And somebody needed to go to talk to the shadows to break the contract. And I think that's where Beelzebub came in, to support and help and negotiate to break the contract for her. And after that, 1 or 2 days later, that's when she passed on. But that was a very interesting case for me. I can see both of you just
Wow.
listening to this story.
Yeah, I was just like, I
was
haven't
like-
heard this one before, so I'm
Me
like,
too.
whoa, I gotta
was
really
like,
listen.
Whoa.
Mhm.
So-
Yeah, that was like
But
amazing.
this is a story that I wanted to share, that, where judgment is very important, that we don't use judgment in the work that we do, and in the universe, in the world that we live in. While humans tend to judge so much, so often, there really isn't any of that necessary. And while we do know that Beelzebub has his role to fulfill, which is, to create some mischief, prank, and all that, but talking to him, he knows that he belongs to this earth too. This earth is his playground, and he
Yeah.
will do his best to support us and help us to protect Earth.
I actually remember when he first showed up. I don't remember who was channeling him because we had a really big group of channelers at the time. Yeah, but when he first showed up, we were like, didn't know if we could work with this thing or if we had to like get rid of it. But basically we were when we come together, right, in big groups, that's when we want to try to give the earth itself some healing. It's not just all about individual clients. We try to look at different global situations and add what we can to it. So on that particular occasion, he showed up like hey, I'm having fun here. I don't want to stop messing with me. And we're like, okay, are we gonna have to like deal with this or what? And then after like a long discussion, eventually it turned into like, well, if the earth doesn't go well, you're not gonna have much fun. You're not gonna have people to mess with. Like, don't you want that? And he's like, all right, fine. And it's and since then we've seen him show up and help us with a lot of these situations where otherwise certain other beings might find the change in frequency too drastic for them to be able to meaningfully involve themselves. So that's been an interesting journey, having seen that from like the day one of thinking like, what is this? Like, how are we gonna get rid of it to now it's like, oh, hi again.
Yeah. Yeah, actually the first person who channeled Beelzebub was Annie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and he has brought in a lot of first. Yeah, and I remember she's like, Beelzebub's here. And I'm like, okay, keeping to our agreement that we're not here to judge anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he has something to say, then let him speak, right? And
Hmm.
also, what is important is that in the work that we do, if we really want to give deep healing, if we really wanted to understand the situation, we need to be able to have it from all perspective, right? And that's when even when we are scared of something and we see something we're not familiar with, we will let ourselves know that we're not here to judge them on their looks. We're not here to judge them on anything, and let them speak and hear them out and give them that fairness that we offer everybody, because then we learn something. And I remember at the time when Beelzebub came and he's like, I have a secret. And he did share a very interesting secret about Earth, right? And we're like, wow, okay, you know. So that's when I got the first hint that he was interested to play with us and that he wants to support us, and he found us to be more fun to play with than rather than himself going around disturbing, starting fires or something. Sorry, Beelzebub, but I know he's listening and probably laughing about this. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really I guess one of my big discovery, or like one of the first thing I go, what?
Surprises, yes.
Yeah, one of the
But
like,
since then, I was able to really feel less stress and somehow acceptance that, you can't see the light without without darkness. So it goes hand in hand. So once you're able to work more with discernment, there's and less judgment. It
mm,
seems that being scared doesn't take over, or you're feeling that you're doing something wrong or right. It's like, okay, because at the end of the day, it's still like your journey and where you're heading at. So if you have less confusion, if you're clearing things, I would say, why not? It's not about worship, but it's about seeing the point of view. If you want to see the whole spectrum, if you see the whole spectrum, it's easier to pinpoint what you want to target or what you are working on. And
yeah.
since we're working with pain and healing, of course, we have to sometimes somehow help us to because they have like a magnifier, they magnify, they help us to see or change the perspective. And I think from that point of view, it's not scary at all. And yeah, so for those who are like me, no, you're working with such energies or whatever, not all the time, but it's good to have like when you need to detox, you need to detox. And when you do the detox, it hurts. You're not going to feel well right away.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, that discernment is very big and important. um and this is going to be the last topic we talk for tonight because we're really coming up to the
Yeah.
hour.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. And Annie needs to do her Christmas shopping.
Ah, yeah, I forgot completely about it.
Oh,
Like I lose track of time with you guys, but it's
So,
fun.
so when it comes to discernment, it's just so important because we have come across situations where there are energies and souls pretending to be something else. So
yeah.
last week you talked a lot about souls, egos, and higher self, right? And and sometimes we didn't realize that when the soul go off wandering, right, and left the empty room, another soul will come in to occupy, right? And that's when we go, who are you? And they'll pretend to go, oh yeah, yeah, I'm the soul, right? And they're like, are you sure? You don't sound right, right? So this is where we have to exercise some discernment and go, okay, sometimes these spirits or the souls, they do want to pretend to be something else. So discernment is so important. But I also want to write on the fact that what we talked about just now about working with Beelzebub and some of the energies, right? We are here with only one objective, and that is to protect humanity and to look after this earth because that's where we are born. In some sense, I find that we work with so many different energies and we work with so many different souls, and that this is our main objective. We're here to help humanity, we're here to help souls, and we're here to help Earth, Mother Gaia, right? And I know that there are many others who feels like, okay, as channelers, you're really dabbling in something that's so challenging or something dangerous. But that's where we know that the work that we do is of the highest calling and with so much pure love that we are able to be courageous and that we are able to exercise with clear-mindedness that we only are here to serve and help the souls, help humanity, and help Mother Earth.
And
So
we're a team, right?
and we are an amazing team.
Yeah, we're not alone, so that's why I'm not scared. Or Sydney is like, we trust. Is we
have
were
many
really
we have many perspectives on each situation, and that's the beauty of it as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So any other words that you all want to share before we close for tonight?
Oh, I just because you mentioned how some people might think like channeling is really weird or out there, and I know it felt that way to me before I started, but I just wanted to say that it's actually been the complete opposite experience doing it and sort of awakening it or activating it has felt like discovering a limb that has always been there that I just wasn't using, and someone pointing it out to me and being like, hey, you know, that's a part of your body, right? You can use it and do stuff with it, and it's just very naturally part of you. That's exactly what the experience has been like. So very contrary to being like weird, if anything, it's felt very comfortable, and yeah, there's a homecoming feeling to doing
And it's
this
a
kind of stuff.
completion of who you are.
Yeah.
You don't deny that part of you anymore just because there is no language or no career or no labels to it at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Actually, shall we bring somebody in tonight? Because like last week we brought in quite a few. Like Crystal was just like going on and on. So many who came through. Anybody is here wanting to come in to say hello to us? Could you feel it? I could feel there's actually quite a lot of them.
I felt things coming in and out
Yeah.
during this talk.
Yeah, we're always being observed, and they are so curious, and they love it when all of us, the channelers, get together because there's a chance that they can speak and hear their own voice. I'm going to invite them to let them know that here's your one chance. Those who want to speak, come forward.
they're all jumping in. That's the
Oh
problem.
boy.
Yeah.
Okay, there's two of you, so take turns.
I'm not getting English. I'm getting codes instead.
Mm. Yeah, I can feel the codes at the tip of my tongue.
And if you manage to get some English, you can bring it down.
Who is energy? Who is Annie holding the energy?
I feel like it's a whole civilization that would like to say hello, but it's a lot of energy, and
Tell them that there's only one
Just one
mouth.
representation.
Yeah. Represent one representative. One civilization. That's interesting.
oh, wow, okay, they're asking, who are you? Like, we're humans.
That's why you're getting the codes because they're
Not speaking. I'm
not
like,
familiar.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is live, guys. Just Wow, it's mm, for a quickie will be difficult. Um, we'll be back. It is such like a very time and energy I barely recall. I feel like it's been there for many thousand or if not million years. I see like Maya's symbols, or it's not Egyptian. It's like it feels like I
I actually
see.
know who you're talking about. It's
Okay, I see
actually
codes.
it's actually like the civilization that I saw in Chengdu in China.
You're
I
right.
s-
Actually, hold on.
I see
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah,
Wait,
so Sydney, you know who I'm talking about. So this is what we're going to discover now.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You can bring them on.
Oh,
I cannot draw. Like,
Go ahead,
like
Sydney.
it's coming in
this.
codes and like hello, 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 hello.
Yes, we want to connect with you and
Yeah, it's just like hi, 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 hello, hello. It's
yeah,
very happy.
But
very
okay,
high frequencies. Okay, good.
put in
Till
the
the end of it.
universal translator. We're gonna put in the universal translator. So you got this.
We want to come through. Hi, hi. We see you working. We see you working many times. Come and visit us. We see you come and visit us. Hi.
Hi.
Coming, coming back. Coming back is difficult. Coming back is difficult. Making your words also hard now. Different words. This one uses different words, different structure than we are used to. The sun is friend. We have helped to tune between earth and sun for you to have civilization enduring. So we will see again you. We will see you again for more working. Hi.
It
Hi.
feels like they are birds. Hmm?
Can you ask them how they want to address themselves? What is their names? Like, how do we call them? How do we address them?
You si sonor hermoso. Hi y hermoso.
Yeah.
Ni you si so hermoso. You.
Can they describe themselves? What do they look like?
Hold on, I'm just getting some pictures.
I see Mayan suns. I see bird faces. I see.
I'm getting a similar thing, but it's not quite like a bird. It's almost like, you know how birds, like their beaks are teeth, as in it's the same thing, right? So it feels almost like that, where it's like the teeth are very big, or the
Mhm.
mouth area is teeth and not really like lips. Um, And then the eye area is pretty prominent. It's like it has like a layer around it, sort of similar to a bird, but not really. It looks very weird.
It looks like, you know, the Galapagos Island.
Yep, the Easter
This
Island.
one. And what I heard is that or what I understood, because not really what I heard, is like they were already here on Earth, helped many times at different timelines and different time from this Earth,
Different
and they are
timeline.
yes, and different continents, but mostly South America. Um, I'm hearing Maya, and it seems that the indigenous people got contact and have learned from them too.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Anything else they want to add? This is really just life where we are discovering and uncovering universe secrets through channeling.
We will meet again. We will meet again.
Sekiosaur. Mm.
Mm.
Thank you for coming through. I love it.
We are looking forward to working with you.
We look
Looking
forward to
forward.
it.
Next time, do not forget the violet ray. You need to open up the ritual. It will facilitate the channeling for your team members.
I'll remember to do that. We'll be doing one tomorrow. Thank you. Maybe you show up tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
We will try.
Oh, they are right that I didn't open up the circle tonight.
Oui.
Oh,
It's a very tangling energy, very physical, very heartwarming too.
Mm.
Yes.
beautiful.
Very warm. Yes, I got a lot of warm colors coming to me.
They did talk about working
Yes.
with the sun.
Mm.
I did feel a lot of their energies and the codes that wanted to come through because their
Yeah.
language. It sounds like codes, but it's actually their language.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, just let you all blend
And I
in.
could see a lot of symbols too.
Mm-hmm.
I see the Z, 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 but it's like, I'm gonna do some research, and when we meet tomorrow,
You
maybe
should
I can try
Yeah.
relocate.
Yeah.
do some drawings.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, I tried, but it doesn't come out very beautiful.
You gotta get it down before it like leaves.
Oh, you cannot see it.
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Interesting.
No, get.
Okay, so I want to thank both of you for this beautiful evening. And then we are slightly over the hour, but it's such an interesting topic. I hope that people find it interesting. Feel free to drop us a note, drop a comment. We're always happy when people actually are taking interest in what we're sharing. So with that, thank you everybody, and I'll see you all soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ooh, let me see.
It's in the heart. I